Hello and welcome to your next tutorial on JavaScript. Today we're going to be discussing decision making, logical and comparison operators, and nesting. Now I'd like to tell you ahead of time, do not feel obligated to watch multiple videos in one day because I packed in a lot of information in each of my videos. So if it ends up becoming overwhelming, then just take it easy. Don't worry about it. I'm going a lot faster than any college course does, so don't worry about it. Okay, so let's just create a simple variable, right? I would say var x is equal to 83. Now let's say we're a teacher and we want a certain message to pop up if, let's say, the student's grade is passing or not. In order to do this, we can create what is called the if statement. And it's just like the way it sounds, just an if. Then after the if, type in a pair of parentheses, then an opening curly brace and a closing curly brace. Now what goes within these parentheses is the comparison. So I'm going to start teaching you the comparison operators. So let's say we want to check to see if the student's grade is passing. So we can type in x is greater than what's passing, 50? It's probably about right. And if it's true, if this is true, a certain expression would then come out, whatever we type in here. So I'll just type in document write, and I'll put in good job. Why not? So let's see what happens. I'll refresh the page, and the words good job appears. If the person's grade is not passing, let's say it's less than that 50. Let's refresh the page. Well, it looks like it worked. That person didn't pass, so shame to be them. So as you could imagine, if you've taken any math class, you probably know all the comparison operators. So another one is a less than, which now it's going to become true again. I'll refresh the page, and there it is. There's also the less than and equal to, so I'll just change this to 50, just so you can see how it works. I'll refresh the page, it still works. I'll change this to a greater than or equal to, should still work, and it does. And let's make it strictly greater than so you can see the difference. See, now x is not strictly greater than 50. It's now equal to, so what happens? And now it disappears. Now if you want to check if it's only equal to something, then you have to use the is equal to comparison operator. And I don't want you to confuse this with the equals assignment operator. That's different. The is equal to is to equal sign. And the difference is if you use this, it's going to return a Boolean value of either true or false. This is actually setting something equal to something else. So you don't want to use one equals. You want to use two equals. So this should come out to be true. Oh, I have to save. I'm sorry. And there it is. There's the good job. Now if we set it equal to something else, let's say 60, and now it's not there anymore. Well, what if we want to check if something is false? Well, what you could do is use the not equals. So in order to do that, you change the first equal sign to an exclamation point. I believe that's above your 1 button. So you click save, and now this should be true. 60 is not equal to 50. And there it is. Then if we set x back equal to 50 and refresh the page, well, since this expression didn't return true, this line of code did not execute. So let's change this back to, let's say, 93. Now what if we want to check someone's grade, whether it's passing or not? So I'm going to change this back to, what was it, greater than 50? And if this is not true, what if we want another line to execute? What we can do is create what is called the else. So if all the above if statements do not work, like this one right here, then the else statement will execute. So open curly brace and closing curly brace, and since this line only executes if the preceding if statement didn't work, we don't need any parentheses in here because we're not checking anything. We're just saying if it's this, okay. If it's not, execute this. So we'll type in document.write you fail, just because if you didn't get a 50, I mean, come on, or a 51, come on. And we need to make this a failing grade, so let's make this a 43. So let's see what happens. Now we get the you fail. And of course, I mean, come on, this is horrible. That's not hard. So let's change this back to a 93. And I have a good reason to. Well, what if we want to check to see someone's letter grade? What if we want to check every single letter grade? So here, if it's greater than 90, we want it to write an A, but we want to use the other letters as well. So you can just create more and more if statements. So I'll just create one more. If it's greater than 80, print a B. I'll click save and press F5. Well, that's not right. I wanted A to pop up. I didn't want B to pop up. Well, the reason for this is because it goes through every single if statement, regardless, no matter what. It will always go through each if statement because it's its own separate thing. And let me also point out that you see this else statement. This else statement will only execute if this if statement returns a false, not this one. This one doesn't matter. These two are grouped together, and this one's by itself. I kind of want to make that clear. But you can group all this together into 3, and how you can do that is make every if statement after this one an else if. So you type in else, and then space them apart, and this line will only execute if this one comes out false. If this one comes out false, then it goes to the next else if, and so on until you reach the else. So, when I click save, refresh the page, we just get an A. Because since this one turned out true, it didn't have to check this one. Oh, so much stuff. Okay, so let's make this an 83. When I refresh the page, well, now I got a B. It went on to that next line. And if I change this to a 73, you fail. Now that's pretty harsh. If you only pass if you get an 80, I think grad school's like that. I'm not looking forward to grad school. They're very hardcore. Now, what if we want to check two expressions, at once? So I'll get rid of this, and I'll say, okay. So this person has an 83. What if I wanted to check both if it's greater than 80 and less than 90? Well, how you do that is, first of all, you create two pairs of parentheses. So you're checking to see if x is greater than 80, then if x is less than 90. Now, I want to point out that I didn't want to type that yet. I want to point out that in order for this to work, you have to put a pair of parentheses around everything. So you have to put a front parenthesis out here and another parenthesis out here. So now all this is grouped together. Okay. Now, in order to use the AND feature here to say if this is true and this is true to execute this, you'll use two ampersands like this. So I click save, and well, I probably want that to be a B, but whatever. I refresh the page, and now it's an A. It made sure both these were true. So if I make this, let's say 93, I'll click save. Now it doesn't work, and it actually went to the else statement. And the reason why it didn't work is because even though it's greater than 80, it's also not less than 90. There's also the OR. The OR is two of these vertical lines. I don't even know what you call them. But they're above your enter key in the shift of the backslash. And this is the OR, so it will check to see if at least one of these is true. So if I click save and refresh the page, I now get the A again because it's greater than 80. So it didn't matter. Both of these did not have to be true. But if we make this, but yeah. Now the last thing I'd like to get into is nesting. And you can actually have, and what nesting is having any kind of special code within another code. So you can have if statements within if statements if you wanted to. So I could actually keep this as just one line of code as such, and then I could do that secondary check within these curly braces. So I could say if, and then a second pair of curly braces. So if it's greater than 80, then if x is greater than 90, let's give them an A. So it will check to see if this if statement is true. Then it's going to check to see if this if statement is true, and if it is, it'll write this statement. You can also still have statements that only execute if this if statement is true. If you go down here, and all this code will then execute within this if statement if this comes out true. So I can still write out document.write. I'll put down good job. So I'll click save, and when I press F5, I now get the A and a good job. However, if it's an 83, now I only get the good job because the second one came out false, so it did not execute this line of code. And yeah, you can nest as many if statements as you want. I believe I went through everything I wanted to. I'm thinking about it right now. Logical. We did the logical operators. We did the comparison operators. Oh yeah, that's and nesting. That's everything. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if this was a lot, it was a lot. You can watch it again, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.